What is up, film geeks? My name is Trevor. Welcome back to my channel. Spider-Man No Way Home finally came out in theaters, and I'm just safe to say it delivered on every level. But there's now 11 movies in the Spider-Verse Spider-Man universe, so we're going to rank all 11 of them. Join me down below in the comment section. How does your ranking compare with mine, and what did you think of Spider-Man No Way Home? You can go ahead and talk spoilers out down below, because we have to talk about spoilers with No Way Home when we get to it. And this is just my list. Some of these movies are definitely going to be kind of a hot take with their placement, but join me down below in the comment section. And before we get into the ranking, if this is your first video here, hit the thumbs up button. While you're at it, hit that subscribe button for me. Lots more MCU content, a spoiler review for No Way Home coming later today, an MCU ranking, villain, hero, all those kind of rankings coming out for the MCU in the next couple of days. I'm excited for all of it. But right now, we're ranking the Spider-Man movies. So let's start out right at number 11. Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. This is just a major disappointment for me because I am a mediocre fan of the first Venom. I went in expecting it was going to be terrible, and it kind of gave me a little bit of a surprise. Going in with Venom 2, it just felt like more of the same, just not as good, not as engaging, not as fun, and when it kind of ended, it felt like it really just ended. Venom 2 is one of my least favorite movies of the entire year, and I really kind of expected a lot. Didn't really get all that much. Had a cool post-credit scene, how it's going to be tied into Tom Holland's Spider-Man universe, but all that said, it didn't really hit it for me, and Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, it earned its spot in last place on this list. Moving on to number 10, I said I was a mediocre fan of this one, Venom. Now, there is some fun to be had here, but whenever I go back and rewatch this one, I just remember that it's not all that good. Venom really isn't in the movie till 45 minutes in. When he does come in, it's almost too little too late. Riz Ahmed is a fantastic actor, but he's just not very good in this movie. It's kind of a schlock fest. It's a bromantic comedy. It's not like I'm really hating on it. I don't hate this movie. I actually semi-enjoy it, but it's going to be at number 10 just compared to all these other ones. This one has to be at number 10. Moving on to number 9, I would say from this point onward, I really do enjoy all these movies. So, number 9, The Amazing Spider-Man. I said before, there's going to be some hot takes on this list, and I really do enjoy Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. I think he's a great Peter Parker. I think he is a really good Spider-Man. The reason this one's a little bit low is because I just never got fully invested in this as a kid when I grew up watching him, or when I watch him now. I never really got invested as Lizard as a very compelling villain. While he is a good villain, I just never was really convinced that he was all that menacing, all that crazy. His plan was to turn everyone into lizards, and when we get to No Way Home, we get to find out that he's kind of a little gimmick and joke in that movie. But with The Amazing Spider-Man, I do enjoy it. I really, really do. I love Andrew Garfield. It's just compared to the other ones, I enjoy this one just a little bit less. Moving on to number 8, Spider-Man 3, Tobey Maguire's final movie as Spider-Man. So we thought, but Spider-Man 3, this is pure nostalgia for me. Now, I know it is clunky, and whenever I go back and rewatch it, I just remember that when I was a kid, I loved it, but now it's just not all that great, and I just have a lot of nostalgia for it because I grew up watching it, and I grew up watching this one the most of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies because of all the action, and in the end, I love Harry Osborn's character. I love his whole character arc as he turns into like the new Green Goblin by the end of the movie. I love the Venom, and now I go back and watch Venom, and I'm just like, God, Topher Grace did not do it justice as Venom. But I really like Sandman as a villain. He's one of my favorite Spider-Man villains, and you really you sympathize with his character, and you go down through this road with Peter Parker as he goes down this kind of like menacing, crazy road, and come on. The dance scene, that earns a spot right there with the dance scene. Moving on to number 7, we have Spider-Man Far From Home. Now, before filming this video, before seeing No Way Home, this movie would have been much lower on this list. But Mysterio caused everything to happen in Spider-Man No Way Home. And my biggest problem with Far From Home was Mysterio as a villain, because everything he did was kind of just like projections, and it was kind of fake. But seeing how everything he did in that movie led into Spider-Man No Way Home increased this movie that much more, and honestly made me think about it. I was like, yeah, a lot of things that worked in No Way Home worked because of Far From Home, so I guess I enjoy it. Now, while Far From Home is my least favorite of the trilogy, I can still appreciate that everything Mysterio did really kind of played a big factor in No Way Home, and it made me enjoy this one just that much more. Moving on, number 6. The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like I said, I am a fan of Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man and as Peter Parker, but Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy and their relationship in this movie is what really carries it along. And honestly, this movie is here for that emotional death scene, that beautiful shot we got at the end where he just couldn't save her. And Spider-Man No Way Home, again, we get a little kind of mirror image or a little repeat of exactly what happened with this scene, but he actually gets it done in Spider-Man No Way Home. Coming back to here is a straight callback. Made me enjoy this one that much more, and made it for that much more of an emotional punch. Breaking into the top 5, we have Spider-Man 2. Now, I know that is an extremely hot take. I absolutely love this movie. It is a 4.5 out of 5. I have nothing bad to say about it. That train scene especially is one of the best Spider-Man scenes of all time. And Doc Ock is one of the best Spider-Man villains, especially in No Way Home. Alfred Molina has not lost a beat as his character, and him as his character in this movie is absolutely perfection. Alfred Molina is a fantastic actor, and his arc as this villain has the ultimate payoff, because by the time he gets there and get about to complete his objective by the end of the film, he realizes what he has done, and he has to go and destroy the machines himself, and basically goes and takes himself out of the equation. Spider-Man 2 is absolutely fantastic. I have no complaints, nothing bad to say about it. Just like the other 4, just a little bit more. Speaking of that, moving on to number 4, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. Now, I love this movie with my whole heart. It has so much nostalgia for me, and Green Goblin is goated. Let's just say that right there, because Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin is the best Spider-Man villain, and I don't think we'll ever get anything close to him. And No Way Home made this performance from back into early 2000s that much more meaningful and that much greater. Spider-Man No Way Home did a lot of things for these other movies, how it kind of basically paid homage and did everything great, reminding us how great these characters are. And Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin, he's goated. I love James Franco as Harry Osborn. I love just this whole story of Spider-Man and him learning how to fly, him getting to learn how to use his powers and his relationship with MJ. It works on every single level. I love it so dang much. Moving on into the top 3, Spider-Man Homecoming. Now, maybe this isn't a hot take, and if it is, again, just hear me out. I love everything this movie has to offer. It is in my top 5 MCU. That's how much I love it. Tom Holland is my preferred Spider-Man because as I got more into superhero movies, I grew up kind of in my high school years watching Tom Holland as Spider-Man, and I just gravitated towards him. Homecoming is a perfect combination of Peter Parker, Spider-Man with a great villain, and a kind of like a lower stakes story, and him with Iron Man kind of, he's still mentoring him. I know a lot of people have a problem with that. I never did because I absolutely love Iron Man, and if Iron Man was in every MCU movie, I would not have a problem with that. And if you're nothing without a suit, you shouldn't have it. One of my favorite Spider-Man quotes of all time. I absolutely love everything in this movie, and that scene where Spider-Man, Peter Parker, he's just getting ready to go on a date, and all of a sudden, Vulture opens the door. By far, the biggest plot twist I've ever seen in a movie. My jaw was glued to the floor. Spider-Man Homecoming is one of my favorite Spider-Man movies of all time. My runner-up is going to be Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It is my favorite animated movie of all time. Miles Morales is one of my favorite Spider-Men. I absolutely love the character of Miles Morales, and this movie is creative with the way it's filmed and the way of the animation style, but one of the best soundtracks of all time. And getting all these other Spider-Verse, I mean, Spider-Verse did it first, No Way Home. Let's just talk about that for a second. Miles Morales is very compelling and very just convincing Spider-Man who you can really relate to, who has a great taste in music, and the soundtrack again in this movie really makes it play along that much better. And Kingpin is a fantastic villain, and us finding out that Uncle Aaron was the Prowler, that was a huge plot twist. You got Spider-Noir in there, Spider-Pig in there, or whatever John Mulaney's playing. I absolutely love everything in this movie. I love the animation style, I love the soundtrack, I love the characters, I love the action, I love the villains. Did I say I love it? Because I love it. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, my favorite animated movie of all time. My second favorite Spider-Man movie. But there's only room for one, number 1, and that is the newest, most beautiful, awesome, one of the best MCU, one of the best Marvel, one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life. I could probably safely say that. Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, is recency bias a thing? Possibly. I'm going to see it for a second time after this video is done recording, so we'll see if it still holds up there. But I've never felt this way when watching a movie before, and I say that every now and then, but this time, it just hit me different. I wanted to cry, but I couldn't. I wanted to scream, but I really couldn't. I was literally left there speechless, and the first 15 minutes is a little bit messy and a little kind of hard to follow for a second. That's at least what I thought, but you get Charlie Cox in the beginning to kind of introduce the MCU, and the way they subtly just introduce all the speculation that we had. I mean, in a living room with Ned learning how to use Doctor Strange powers and Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire just come basically walking in. Didn't need to do this big, huge, grand superhero entrance. Just kind of let them come in here. That was absolutely fantastic. And their banter back and forth between Andrew and Tobey and Spider-Man, all kind of talking about what they can do, what their problems are, what happened in their life, are they similar, how are they different, how Tobey Maguire can literally shoot him out of his wrist and they cannot do that. And they basically kind of poke fun and all have a lot of fun. And it's literally nostalgia on the screen. My entire life, my entire childhood, my favorite superhero of all time, all 3 of them I grew up watching are on the screen at the same time. The most awesome action, the almost awesome payoff with a fantastic, depressing, and brutal ending. Spider-Man No Way Home is my favorite Spider-Man movie, and it might be my favorite MCU movie. But that's the ranking for another time. Go ahead and join me down below in the comment section. How would you rank all 11 Spider-Verse movies? Let me know that down below in the comment section. Hit that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button. I'll have it in the car spoiler reaction after I see it again later today. So make sure you guys are on the lookout for that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I absolutely love Spider-Man. So let's celebrate it down below in the comment section. If your ranking is different than mine, totally A-okay with me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.